How's it going, Rogues Gallery, and welcome to another card game video here on Red Zone Rogue. Today, I want to talk about something that I think is very, very important, and I don't know how long I can talk about this topic for, but it's something that I think is so important that it needs to be addressed, and I also have some insider knowledge on it because I personally have worked with both of these companies and I have a very good relationship with both of these companies. I, of course, am talking about the recent news of the TCG, or I guess you could say this ChannelFireball acquisition by TCGPlayer. Basically, if you didn't hear, about a week or so ago, it was announced that TCGPlayer is going to be purchasing ChannelFireball. Now, I can tell you right now that that hasn't fully, happened yet. And there's some things that I just can't talk about because I am a ChannelFireball content contributor, and I'm going to be, I assume, a TCGPlayer content contributor once this thing, fully manifests and happens. But I want to clear up some misconceptions, some of them which I don't know if they're just memes or people are just insane. And I just want to talk about why I think it is so important and what TCGPlayer gets out of absorbing ChannelFireball. So that's a topic for today's video. The sponsor for today is neither of those. It's myself. The sponsor is myself. Go check out my own website, redzonerogue.com, if you want some Red Zone Rogue branded merch. We have brand new custom Red Zone Rogue sleeves with various Red Zone Rogue arts, including the brand new Red Zone Rogue card back. And we're going to have shirts that are going to be coming out very soon. I'm really, really excited for that. I already placed my order. It's a fairly conservative order of only 40 shirts. We're going to be selling the shirts for $30 plus shipping. I'm really, really excited for that. I wanted them to be very classy and sleek shirts. Just going to be all black with the Red Zone Rogue diamond logo on the card back and then the full card back on the back of the shirt. Anyway, let's talk about this TCGPlayer ChannelFireball acquisition thing. Okay, the first thing I want to talk about is the content side of ChannelFireball. That is not going anywhere. Like, no one is getting laid off or fired. The people who are making content for ChannelFireball will continue to make content, which is awesome. So that just means that instead of, ChannelFireball being the company that I, do, contract work for, basically, it's going to be TCGPlayer, and I'm cool with that because, like I said, I have actually worked with TCGPlayer before, as well, and I have a great working relationship with them. I've had, nothing but great things to say about working with them. They've treated me very, very well. Same is true for ChannelFireball, and so on the content side of things, nothing is going anywhere. And that's one of the big things that TCGPlayer is actually getting from this purchase. They are getting all of the amazing content creators over on ChannelFireball. So not just myself, but in terms of Flesh and Blood, you have DM Armada, you have Fabrica, who's doing gameplay videos over on ChannelFireball now as well. You have, I think the Instant Speed podcast was up on there. Tarek Patel has done stuff on there. So you have a lot of these excellent Flesh and Blood content creators who are now going to be doing content for TCGPlayer, which is, I think, just great overall because TCGPlayer has a wider breadth of games that they cover and a wider audience, and so doing that kind of content, though it might not reach that wide audience, I think is just kind of good for just getting it out there. So I see that as a huge win for TCGPlayer. They get the content side of things. So what else does TCGPlayer get from this? Well, they get their point of sale system. So they get the binder POS system that ChannelFireball had been championing. So that's going to be great for TCGPlayer. They get the binder POS system. That'll help a lot of local game stores and just stores that are going to be putting their stuff up on TCGPlayer. So that's pretty cut and dry, right? They get binder POS. They also get the tournament infrastructure system that ChannelFireball had already established. And this is not like any insider information. This is just going off of assumptions. ChannelFireball has a great tournament infrastructure system. I've done coverage and commentary for many, many Flesh and Blood events hosted by ChannelFireball, and now TCGPlayer will basically just get that infrastructure. I would assume, like I said, I don't really know about this part all that much, but it's something that they're going to be able to get. And so instead of being like, oh, this is going to be hosted by, this calling event or whatever is going to be hosted by ChannelFireball, well, now it's hosted by TCGPlayer. So that Actually makes me wonder if Worlds for Flesh and Blood is still going to be hosted by ChannelFireball or if it's going to be hosted by TCGPlayer. I'm not sure if that matters or if what's going to happen with the branding. I don't know if they're going to keep them separate entities and be like, oh, this is this part of TCGPlayer and this part is, you know, different, or if they're just going to be under the TCGPlayer umbrella. I don't know about that kind of stuff. That will be revealed to you know, everyone at a future date. I'm sure people with higher pay grades in mind know what that is, but I literally don't know. So TCGPlayer gets the content side of things. So that's videos, that's articles, that's all the excellent content creators from ChannelFireball. And like I said, for me personally, literally nothing is changing. Like nothing on how like I make content is changing, which they give me free reign to do a lot of basically whatever I want. And like the pay, nothing is changing. Nothing is changing in that regards. Even how we like submit our content, nothing is changing. And then they also get Binder POS, which is great. They also get the tournament infrastructure, which I think is huge. I think it's actually huge, with not a lot of big tournaments happening in the US in the TCG sphere outside of Flesh and Blood. I know Magic wants to kind of, you know, do a resurgence of this, but we have yet to see that. I think this is great. And those are honestly like the big things I think they are getting. Those are like the most important things they're getting. I mean, obviously they're getting everything else too that kind of comes with this. And I just think it's, I think it's fantastic. ChannelFireball had become a marketplace, like how TCGPlayer had become a marketplace in the same way that like Amazon is a marketplace. So it is a little bit of that, but it's also not that, because anyone could put up their store onto the TCGPlayer marketplace and then have access to all of the things that come with that. The ChannelFireball marketplace was not even close to as big as the TCGPlayer marketplace, and the TCGPlayer marketplace also just has so many more games. Like even some of my favorite games like WeCross that ChannelFireball didn't cover, TCGPlayer has. So what we used to know as ChannelFireball is now very commonly known to be Card Shop Live. What's going to happen with Card Shop Live? I don't know. They're probably going to continue to do their own thing, right? Because they've already separated themselves from ChannelFireball. A lot of people associated ChannelFireball with Card Shop Live, but you know, in terms of being a store, they were completely different, right? Because ChannelFireball was a marketplace for a long time, whereas Card Shop Live was their own store. And so the merger here isn't, they're not merging with Card Shop Live, to my understanding. It's that marketplace, right? So it's just combining these two marketplaces. And personally, as a content creator, I don't know how much this is going to open my doors in regards to this, but I'm very much interested in some of those other card games like WeCross, like these upcoming games like Grand Archive and Sorcery. And if those make it to TCGPlayer, you know, I would love to offer my services to be able to create content for those games and get the word out. So we'll see what happens with that. There are a couple other things that I find kind of hilarious in how absurd they are. I've heard people say that Legend Story Studios purposefully overprinted Monarch and Tales of Aria to drive ChannelFireball out of business. That is actually insane. Like, that's like lizard people, you know, rule the government levels of insane. Like, they wouldn't do that for so many reasons. Whether or not the reason that ChannelFireball, you know, was looking to sell, you know, had anything to do with Flesh and Blood and Monarch print runs and all that stuff, I don't know. But I know for certain that it's not because James White purposefully did it to drive ChannelFireball out of business. That's actually just insane. Especially since I've met the higher ups at ChannelFireball, like Mashi Scanlon and John Sasso. I've met them in person, like at the Pro Tour, a Flesh and Blood Pro Tour, and they were in very high spirits. But by the way, they were also incredibly nice dudes, and it was really, you know, awesome to meet them. And you know, I wish them the best of luck. I don't know what they're going to be doing going forward, but I know I'm going to be continuing to make content, and that's kind of the crux here. I think this in general, by the way, is just a huge thing for the TCG world. This is like the biggest merger that we've ever had, like, at all, and I really don't know what the long-term ramifications of this is going to be. It's so crazy because Star City Games and Channel Fireball, back when I was in college, like long time ago, like 2010 kind of era, they were like the big names when it came to competitive card games, competitive Magic the Gathering. And now neither of them really do that. Channel Fireball isn't even going to exist, and Star City Games just fired all of their writing staff. So like, I have no idea what the future of this space is going to look like. But I do know that it's going to be very interesting, and I think it's going to have long-term ramifications on the TCG industry. I also love, like, this is just kind of a side, I love how inclusive TCGPlayer is, by the way, that they're willing to pick up and have marketplaces for all of these smaller indie games. I think that's absolutely fantastic. It's not just Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, and Pokemon, and now Flesh and Blood. A lot of places carry Flesh and Blood too, Magic, Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and Flesh and Blood, but they carry like Cardfight Vanguard, Weiss Schwartz, they carry WeCross, they carry all you know, a giant plethora of games, and I think that's awesome. And so I'm really glad that I can be working with a company that does that and sees the broad spectrum of the TCG industry. They see it for what it really is, and not just like this hyper-focused lens that's just focused on the big boys, right? So I really appreciate that. I'm actually excited for like these new opportunities going forward for both me personally and for the TCG industry. I really hope TCGPlayer will eventually pick up these games that I really, really enjoy. Hopefully that they're probably gonna have to prove themselves, you know, as games. But I'd love to see Grand Archive. I'd love to see Sorcery both on TCGPlayer. And I'm very optimistic, actually. I'm very, very optimistic for the future of the TCG industry as a whole, even though currently we are in a bit of a collectible recession kind of thing. I'm still very, very optimistic for the future of these kind of things. Like, I think there's always going to be a place for them, especially the games that are truly fantastic, like Flesh and Blood, and I would say like Sorcery, like Grand Archive, obviously Magic, Pokemon, and Yu-Gi-Oh! Those already are known quantities, but I think there's a place for all of these things, and I love that they have a home on TCGPlayer, and so that's kind of what I have to say about this. It's a very interesting thing. Channel Fireball, for the most part, was a marketplace and a tournament organizer and a content hub, and that's really what TCGPlayer gets, right? That's what they get. I'm going to be very curious to see how branding goes in the future, but as someone who has worked with both these companies, I'm actually kind of excited for it. So thanks so much for watching, everyone. Please let me know what you think in the comments down below, and we'll see you next time.